What's going on, guys? This is Gainz Gaming. Today we are talking about the best garrison commanders for free-to-play players. This is a topic that I've been asked about so many times, and so I just need to make a video on it because for some reason a lot of people that are free-to-play want to know what the best garrison is for them. And I'll start off and preface, if you are a free-to-play player and you are thinking about taking a city rally, the best defense you can have is having a peace shield and not taking the city rally, because I can guarantee you are not going to win. Even players that are higher spenders, even players that have high crystal technology will still get destroyed in a city rally. It is by far the most disadvantaged position in Rise of Kingdoms to take a city rally because of how strong rallies are in 2024 and the different options that we have to rally these cities. And if you find yourself in a situation where you are being rallied, I beg you, please just peace shield or teleport onto safety. Do not take a city rally unless you are prepared to have substantial losses. If you guys have seen my videos of me taking city rallies, I'm a pretty high power player with pretty good gear, pretty good armaments, and I was able to, heal my hospital really, really well and basically do everything right. And I still took a ton of dead troops. So you have to be willing to take a ton of dead troops. If you are a free-to-play player, you are not going to trade well either. So in that case, you should not be taking it. But for the preface of the video, we will still be covering the best garrison commanders for free-to-play, because there's more than just, taking city rallies that your garrison is useful for, such as Shadow Legion. And that's something that you want to be able to max out eventually, which all my farms are able to do that. So you should be able to max out Shadow Legion at some point in your career of playing Rise of Kingdoms. Now, first of all, there are a couple commanders that you are obviously going to get basically for free. And one of those commanders is going to be Charles Martel. Charles Martel is probably the best all-around garrison captain you're going to have, especially as a free-to-play player and definitely in the early game. He is definitely going to be your number one pick because you don't really have to invest into him. You're going to get gold heads of his in keys. Obviously, it might take a little while for you to eventually expertise him, but even at 5511, he is still a pretty decent garrison captain for your city. Now, obviously, you're not going to be defending an objective with him, but again, if you're a free-to-play player, you're not a garrison captain anyway. So you're just looking for something for city defense, maybe something for Ark of Osiris, maybe just in case someone accidentally swarms your city, you want to have something prepared. In that case, it's definitely beneficial to have something rather than just having random commanders that don't do anything in the garrison. So me personally, I have a couple different options, but we're going to be talking about the ones that are going to be best for free-to-play players. So, obviously Hera is a fantastic option for city defense, but when it comes to a free-to-play player, he is a Mightiest Governor commander. So you are not going to be unlocking him unless you win Mightiest Governor, and that is the only way you're going to get his heads. And then there are two other commanders I'm going to bring up in this topic where they are very, very good, but free-to-play players just really aren't going to be using them. Another one is going to be Theodora. She is a great city defense commander, and plus she has circular AoE just like Hera, up to 5 enemy targets. So that is going to be very beneficial for your city defense, for anti-swarm. And then the other commander that I want to talk about that is still very, very good for city defense is Lapu Lapu. He, otherwise known as the old Dwayne The Rock Johnson. They changed his look a little while ago, but he looked exactly like Dwayne The Rock Johnson. But he is another garrison commander that, again, is found in the Mightiest Governor that is still very, very good, but you're not going to be using him because he's obviously a Mightiest Governor commander. If you do find yourself unlocking his commanders, could you invest into them? Yeah, but do you want to? No, because you're a free-to-play player, so that's not really going to be beneficial for you. Now, free-to-play players, a lot of them are going to have YSG. YSG and Charles Martel, Charles Primary, is going to be very good city defense for a free-to-play or low spender, because that group of players are not going to invest into actual garrisons, which is another reason why you should not be taking rallies, because you shouldn't be investing in these higher tier commanders anyway. You should just be getting the free sculptures for Charles Martel. And then if you do invest into YSG, that's who I would put as the secondary. Now, what if you don't invest into YSG and maybe you wait until Season of Conquest and you invest into Zeuge? Then you could definitely use Zeuge. The one downside of that though is that Zeuge, he does get a lot of benefit from having full archer units. And if you do not have full archer units, you are not going to get the full benefit of his skills. So that is why a lot of people don't love using Zeuge as a garrison, because you're just not getting the full amount of value from that. But YSG, you are getting a little bit more value, especially having the extra skill damage from his museum buffs if you're in Season of Conquest. Now, I've had a lot of people ask me about Richard. Should you use Richard as a garrison? Absolutely not. He might be one of the worst options for a city garrison simply because he heals a lot. And that is not good when it comes to city defense, because what this is doing is actually putting more units available to die. Because as he is healing, he is taking those slightly wounded troops and allowing them to go right back into battle, which then make you take even more dead troops and more sev wounds. So this is a commander you absolutely should not be using as a garrison. Even though he is a garrison captain, you should absolutely not be using him in your garrison. Now, let's say you're a free-to-play player that does not invest into archers at all, because I've had some people say like, well, I don't invest into YSG, I don't invest into Zhuge, so who else can I invest into, or who else can I use without having to invest legendary commander sculptures into a commander like Hera or Theo or Lapu Lapu or YSS? And that is going to be Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu with Charles Martel is still a very good option, because even though he is in a fan shape and not really, doing a ton of AoE, he is still going to be a good option, because if you're taking a rally, you're going to get screwed anyway. But if you're getting swarmed, you're at least getting some value, unless your enemy is smart and, surrounding you on the other side. But if you're like 12x surrounded, he's still going to do some damage. But again, free-to-play players, you are going to be a high value target if you are off territory, because most likely you're going to be under 60 million power and most likely not have the best gear, and you're just going to be completely destroyed. Like, to be completely honest with you, if I see a free-to-play player off territory with a Charles Sun Tzu, I'm swarming that thing. But it would still hurt a little bit more than, a Charles and an Uji. Like, obviously, having the Sun Tzu is going to be a lot better. But what if you want to invest into one garrison commander, which, again, I don't recommend, but let's say you do want to do that because you just enjoy investing in these commanders because you think they're cool. I've had some people tell me that. So what are the other options you have besides Hera, besides Theo, and besides Lapu Lapu? Well, I would say YSS is the next best thing. And if you don't know, I do have YSS maxed on every single farm account that I have. I have 7 farm accounts and YSS is maxed on every single one. And on my farm 2, which I'm now using as an alt account for ranged combat, I have YSS and Zenobia both expertised. Now, is this useful? I mean, in 99.999% of cases, no. But in my last KVK, I didn't actually realize this. I think I was on stream. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I was. But I was actually swarmed on my farm account because I was using it for siege. And I didn't realize it was off territory. And all of a sudden, like, I saw on my other screen, my screen was flashing red. And I was like, wait, what's going on? Do I have a march out? And I was like, oh, they're swarming my city. And they were swarming my farm account because it's off territory. And they actually traded extremely negative. Even though I had multiple troops out of my farm, I still traded very, very well because I had my max Xeno and max YSS. Even without any gear, it still traded really, really well against a whale that was like, oh, I'm going to go swarm his farm account. And they actually took a ton of dead troops. So that was kind of funny to see, even though it didn't have any gear on it, because all my gear was on my ranged combat. But it's still kind of funny to see stuff like that actually happen because you don't really hear about it. But YSS is going to be probably the best overall commander you can invest into when it comes to your city garrison. But if you are, like I said, looking for one commander to invest into, YSS is probably going to be that commander. You can then run YSS with Charles Martel. You can run YSS with Sun Tzu. You can kind of play around with that, kind of see what you want to do. But again, I'm going to stress this one more time because if you are a free-to-play player, the best defense is going to be a P shield because you absolutely should not be taking a city rally or a city swarm because I can guarantee you will lose because it is not worth taking this. You should absolutely use the P shield, teleport onto safety, don't get caught off territory, and make sure you're paying attention. Don't fall asleep when you're off territory in a war zone because it's just not a smart thing to do. You will wake up zeroed, and if not, you are incredibly lucky. So if you guys enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like and subscribe, completely free to you. It supports me tremendously. But again, thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.